It is time to check in with Carmi Levy. He's our CTV tech analyst. We take a look at tech every Thursday afternoon. So, Carmi, a couple of stories here that I want to get to, but I want to start because typically when we see stories about tech and things that are going weird or AI, they happen to be south of the border. This one concerns Canada's border services. So, talk to us about this story and this idea of using facial recognition to what? To track people who should be leaving the country?
Yeah, this is something that should concern us all, even if we don't have any imminent plans to cross the border. The Canadian Border Services Agency is going to be introducing a new app this fall called Report In. And basically what it'll do is if somebody has been ordered to be deported, they will be required to use this app to check in with the CBSA. And it's a problem because every year in Canada, 2,000 people are ordered deported, and then they just disappear. They don't show up. And of course, then the CBSA has to launch an investigation. It's disruptive. There are a whole lot of reasons why we don't want this to happen. And so this app is going to use biometrics. So it will use facial recognition to prove that it's you every time you check in. And it'll also use GPS to record their location of where they are when they check in. And so that way, even if they do disappear, there will at least be some data to kind of help the investigation process along, which sounds like a reasonable idea. And I think most Canadians would agree that it's, we need to enforce deportation orders. But, let's face it, this is a government that has had issues with apps before and technology. Remember the Phoenix Pay system. Remember COVID alerts. These are things that cost way more than they should have and ultimately didn't work as well as they were advertised. So, and then factor in facial recognition, which of course opens up a whole hornet's nest of privacy concerns about the data. It's not like a password. You can't just change it. Now, where's it going to be supported? Where's it going to be secured? Who has access to it? And what algorithm is going to be used to determine that, in fact, this is the person who they say they are? It uses Amazon technology that they refuse to divulge details about. So it's basically a black box. So you put it all together, and like any technology project that is being put forward by the federal government, I think we need to talk about this more, because left unchecked, we're going to have some serious problems once this thing rolls out.
Yeah, but it's interesting because, of course, on the one hand, people complain about the fact that some people let into the country who shouldn't have been let in. There's no way to find them. So here's the government trying to do something with respect to actually solving that problem. Yet this doesn't seem to be the solution.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem, is that, they have been using existing technology. They call it biometric voice technology. But they say that it's old, it's failing, it's obsolete, and they need to replace it, hence the need for this new app. And this has always been a problem with the government. Every time there's a story about some new technology initiative, it is to address a very specific problem. During the pandemic, of course, we wanted to make sure that we stayed safe if we were outside of our home. Phoenix Pay, of course, we want to make sure that our government employees get paid in a fair and secure manner. So there's always a need for it. But unfortunately, what I like to call IT due diligence, right? The hard work of making sure that systems are developed that are robust, that are secure, and that don't cost too much. That's where the government continues to sort of fall down on the job, and they don't seem to meet the bar. And unfortunately, they don't seem to be learning lessons that private sector companies are learning as they develop their own technology solutions. And so, frankly, I don't think the federal government really needs to be in the business of technology anyway, yet here we are. Yeah. It's a problem everybody wants solved, but this isn't the way to go about solving it.
All right, let's move on from that to Elon Musk, because it's been at least a week since we talked about him. An AI image generator. We went from fakes now to deep fakes. So what's this about?
It is, so, you're seeing images, for example, Donald Trump's campaign is sharing images of Taylor Swift wearing a MAGA hat, purportedly supporting his campaign bid for the presidency. Those images don't exist. They were created by an image generator, and not just any image generator. It's known as Grok 2.0, and it comes to us from no other than Elon Musk. He has an AI company. It's called XAI, and they released this updated version of Grok 2, and they made it available to anyone who has an X premium account. So if you're using the service formerly known as Twitter and you have a credit card and you want to pay $8 a month, you too can use this image generator, which works a lot like other image generators. Just tell it to make you a photo, and it does. The difference is that every other image generator on the market has protections built in. In other words, I can't use it if I ask it to, say, create a picture of President Joe Biden snorting cocaine in the White House, it will refuse to do so. If I try to include violence or pornography or, someone undergoing a mental health crisis, some kind of disturbing imagery that should not be out there, the technology will have safeguards built in, filters, whereas Grok 2.0, anything goes. It's the Wild West of image generators, and Elon Musk takes great glee and joy in saying that there are no limits. You can do whatever you want, which of course means that if we thought we had a problem with misinformation online beforehand, well, Elon Musk has now thrown fuel on the fire, and now it's worse than it's ever been.
Yeah, so where does it go from here? So Elon Musk basically gets to do what he wants. It's his site, and as you said, there are no guardrails, it would seem, up here. Where does it go? I mean, does the government step in at some point? Can it?
They need to. We need better regulations that hold big tech platforms like X and others accountable for the kinds of tools and technologies that they put out there. And we're already seeing the European Union take the lead in this regard. They are, for example, investigating Meta for its dealings around artificial intelligence tools because they're saying that it violates some of the terms of their new legislation, particularly the Digital Services Act. And so the EU has always been ahead of everyone else, certainly ahead of the U.S., definitely ahead of Canada. And we should look to them for guidance on how to hold companies and, frankly, individuals like Elon Musk accountable. So he might be having fun. He thinks it's enjoyable. However, it's detrimental to society. It could be detrimental to the upcoming U.S. election. It'll certainly have an impact on the Canadian election next year. And I don't think anybody wants that. And I think at some point governments have to weigh the need to protect the greater good and consider, even though I'm not really an interventionist, I really don't want to see governments dictate every last iota of technology policy. I think it's safe to say that this is one area where we need better protections because Elon Musk certainly isn't going to do it for us. He puts us all at greater risk.
Fair enough. Let me get to the last story here, which is interesting. The World Cup, of course, soccer is now over. The Olympic soccer competition is over. I'm not the giant soccer fan, but I've never really understood that whole offside thing where you have an official actually running down the sidelines trying to measure whether something is offside or not. And apparently neither did some other people, because what's an iPhone now going to help do?
Yeah, so this comes to us from the English Premier League, which is one of the top leagues in the UK, and they're going to be using dozens of iPhones that are pre-positioned around the perimeter of the pitch, and they're going to be shooting video of what's going on the field at all times. And when an offside call is made, they're going to use artificial intelligence and machine learning models to help officials decide if, in fact, a particular call was or was not offside. Right now, they use what's called video assistant referee, which is just basically sophisticated cameras, but the cameras are expensive, they're not that intelligent, and there's still cases, for example, where one player might be hiding another, and it's impossible to see exactly whether it's there or not. And so the calls are still questionable, and a lot of people are saying the technology needs to be improved. This new technology is called semi-assisted offside technology. Basically, it puts together all the footage from all these different iPhones that are gathered around the edge of the pitch, and then it uses 3D imagery techniques to analyze it from every angle imaginable and then render what it thinks the final decision is. Ultimately, it's up to the referees, so they still have final say, but this gives them a lot more information than they would have had up until now, and it does it a lot less expensively than any of the technology they've been using up until now. So basically, one less reason for fans to have a fit. They'll have to find something else to get angry at when their team loses.
I think we both know one day no more referees anywhere or umpires. It's all going to happen.
I think it's coming.
Yeah, I think it is too.
We see it in baseball. We're seeing it in football, soccer now. I think every sport eventually is going to go this way.
Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst. Carmi, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Great being here.